The show is made possible in part by its supporting sponsors. Blue Water Power Group of Companies, Joe's Discount Tire, and AskGuy.ca. All right, well, this gentleman I've known for a long time as well in many different forms, Jason Winter.
Sure.
Thanks for your time.
No,
I love the space down here. You got the pool table going on, the poker table. This is, I'm guessing, where you spend a lot of time.
It's well used. Yeah, it's well used. We have the guys down here for most of the football games, and we do a lot of poker games down here.
You like to entertain, don't you?
Yeah, we do a lot. I like to go other places, but I also like to have people over here, so I don't kind of take both options, whatever I get. So,
and that kind of is a part of maybe what led you into the business that you're in now, you know, and the you're in the restaurant / bar business, but you really could call that the entertainment business, couldn't you?
And by accident. I mean, really, we were in the nightclub business, and just our partner at the time wanted to open the Bad Dog in Corunna and thought they needed a restaurant, and that's so. My thought was I was going to end up chains of nightclubs in my head. That's how I kind of envisioned how it was going to go. So that's I'd be having nightclubs in London and in Kitchener and all these places.
Oh wow,
and
big
then kids in a restaurant kind of changed that.
Yeah, that does. Well, let's go back into the early days. Where did you grow up?
Sarnia, born and raised.
Yeah.
Went to Northern.
Yeah, and how was school for you?
Good. Yeah, love school. I would go back and redo school over.
Yeah,
and over
no
again
kidding, man.
100%.
No responsibility.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't realize at the time. You know, you thought it was all stressful, but now looking back, and obviously it was a great group of friends, and we had an awesome time in high school. So I loved high school. Yeah, I really haven't had too many of those bad periods where people, unfortunately, I went out for that, went right to work at the Kamloops Station, which was also awesome. So
is that kind of what led you to everything, you know, from the station and then into, like, what was it, the Mule and Rustic and
because at the time I was toying with when I was 22. Like, I got an offer to work at Local 663 from my dad was a pipe fitter there.
Yeah.
Same time I got a job offer at the Kamloops Station as their promotions manager. So kind of waited out and talked with my dad, and he said, you know, it's both are good opportunities and support you whatever you do. And, you know, 663 was definitely, you know, more secure and whatever, you know, benefits, all that. So but in the end, I chose the Kamloops Station, and really loved it, and kind of progressed with the owner there. And that's kind of how we were 5 years there. And then at that point, I was going to Jim Bob's always in London, and that kind of scene in Richmond Row, and we just knew that Sarnia needed a party bar. Not a nightclub, a party bar. So we just kind of I kept pitching it to him, and I'm like, you know what, I think if we do something like this in Sarnia, Sarnia is the perfect town for it, not pretentious, it just needs something fun.
What year was that? That's
1999 or 2000, I would say.
Because things were a lot different than they are now.
Oh, a zillion times different. I mean, at that point, there was still probably four, which is probably crazy for anyone to even believe now there's zero, but there was, I think, 4 or 5, and when I first started the station, there was 5 nightclubs. Yeah. And I mean, bars that were vibrant on top of it. You could go to, back then, the Green Room and all these other places that on a Tuesday night had 150 people. You know, so on top of there was 4 or 5 nightclubs that were doing well. There was a huge bar scene in town that was pretty vibrant.
And considering the size, the county's 73,000, but just Sarnia is even smaller than that.
Yeah.
And able for those ones you mentioned there to survive.
Yeah. Yeah, it was, again, you know, not to date ourselves, but obviously it was a different time. And, you know, people went out at 8 o'clock and no one had phones. So you went out and you played pool and drank some beer, and then you went to the next place and kind of rinse and repeat and did it again. So, it was just a different culture. And I say to my kids all the time, they missed out on a pretty awesome era. Yeah.
I remember going to the station, you could go there 5 nights a week. And there was
busy.
And there was music pretty well every night, whether it was the video DJ or back in my day, and then the bands and the music, and I remember seeing the Tragically Hip there.
Yeah. but they were the house band. That's when the Kamloops station had the band house.
Yep.
So they would house bands, and they would stay there for 5 days, do 5-day junkets.
Yeah,
I think that was before my time, before I started. But that's, I remember hearing all the stories, and every band that was played, they would play 5 days straight.
Yeah, Alana Miles, I remember seeing her there.
All the big bands. Yeah,
McLean and McLean, you remember those guys?
I do remember McLean and McLean, yeah. When I
first C-Spot Run, honestly, too.
I booked them a lot. They were great. Still great guys. Still talk to them a lot. They all through the whole time. Actually, they played the Bad Dog 4 or 5 years ago, whatever, too.
Yeah.
For a private thing, function there, whatever, too. Amazing guys. But yeah, that was just amazing bands back there, and it's such a great, atmosphere for all of that. It definitely, like I said, again, a little different bit of a time. So
I remember the 100-ounce pitchers.
Yep, party pitchers, and they were they were like 2.5 pitchers, and I think they were $10.
Yeah, it was crazy.
It was insane. Right. It was something crazy, and I think they were 10 or maybe $12. Because remember, we were doing at one point like regular pitchers, I think for $6 or $7 too, or something crazy, right? So
yeah, a lot's changed in that industry, even like what you were allowed to do, like law-wise,
legislation,
and all that. Do you think that's part of what's hindered the scene?
100%. So, I mean, I'll say being through it, I saw the progression. So, I mean, when we opened the Lazy Dock the first year, the first 2 years were just, I think that was the last of what I call the heyday of the bar and nightclub industry. And then then not smoking came, which was kind of a little bit of a hit, but it wasn't the end all. It was a start of it. And then you saw at that point the casino opened up, and they started what was called the AGCO, which changed. I went from having a liquor inspector to a little more stringent as before than it was. So that's when you started seeing the over-service laws, which before that point weren't a thing. So that was when you saw like where you see now the evidence just everybody knows of cutting someone out. Before that didn't even exist. That wasn't in our days. That did not exist, and that was kind of the start of that, and then. There's lawsuits was another thing, legislation, and that way kind of was another kind of thing that kept happening. And again, we had to when we first opened up, we were the first Coyote Ugly before there was Coyote Ugly. But then someone fell off a table, and then we're going to get sued, so we had to stop that. And that kind of again took the start to keep taking the fun away, and again, that whole era of stuff, things you could do that just kept kind of getting, you could see it more and more and more. And drinking and driving laws, not for the worst of it, they got a little more stringent. Back in, again, not to date ourselves, but back in our day, you go to the Kamloops race station, and there was 450 people in there and 450 cars in the parking lot.
I know, right?
And, that kind of went away, which, again, obviously good for for a million reasons that they did that, but those are all things that just kept changing. And then the last thing is the cell phone, right? And I think we started to notice that as people more and more, that generation started more and more staying on their phone and not going out. And you saw
you think they instead 100%. Of coming out, they were home on their phone?
100% noticeable. Wow. Like you could see that happening in the later days of our kind of the tail ends there. You could see that happening too. It was definitely having an effect. So.
And a communication device that's so quick. Instead of calling us like, hey, I'm heading here, where are you at? And everybody, like in our day, again, we would talk about it, if we saw we'd call each other, say, what time are you thinking you're going? Well, I'll call Joe and I'll call Jason, and then, okay, we'll meet there at... And we really had to communicate with each other.
And then maybe you missed them. Oh, you just missed them. They just went over to Calhoun's. They went to Balmoral. Okay, maybe you'll see them later. Then maybe you'd end up seeing them last call some other place. Yeah, there was no quick contact that we have now. They're just boom, right? So.
I remember, it's funny you say Calhoun's because I remember a time in the 90s when I got started in the bar business. I worked at Mr. Mike's Variety Club.
Yep.
But there was quite a battle between the station and Calhoun's at one point, right?
Yeah.
Were you were around for that?
So the station's Calhoun's was just right before me. So when I came in, we were the ones who were the ones who was still the Wednesday night fight. So we were us and Tequila Rocks. We were always fighting for Wednesday nights, and then the Odyssey and the Stingers. That was just a bit. I was actually drinking at the bars when that was happening. So I was enjoying reaping the benefits
of both sides.
It was the $2 beers or $1.80 beers, and that's like I said again, the $5 pitchers. I was that whole kind of battling area, which was pretty crazy back then.
But the battle, you know, between those two, like you say, it gave the consumer a lot of opportunity.
Yeah, it's great for customers.
But
for sure.
Ultimately, I think the station won that battle.
Yeah.
Which I would have thought at that time that it would have went the other way around because, you know, the station's just so much bigger, so they had more overhead costs and everything.
Yeah.
And Calhoun's was backed up by a very large corporation at the time.
Yeah, they're
And
big partners in that too. But yeah, I don't know exactly how that, again, because again, I was as a business side just kind of before my time, so I kind of missed that side of it. But yeah, I don't know exactly how that played out to them, to winning that. But definitely the station, again, seemed to just stand the test of time no matter
right.
what.
It's a station. That's all you
yeah,
can say about it.
Yeah,
right?
they had a couple of years like before I kind of started in there where they kind of floundered a bit and they were kind of, I think, teetering a little bit. But no, overall, I think when Stingers opened up, that was again a big, I think, hit to them. And they, again, we're probably saying stuff that most people won't remember, but it was definitely, I think that was that point where that kind of turned over a bit too.
Yeah,
right?
Stingers. When Challengers was around before.
Yeah, Challengers was what turned to Stingers.
And, Rodeo, was it called Rodeo?
Rodeos, oh yeah, right. That was also Stinger. Yeah, that's right.
We are dating ourselves. We were at all of them, right?
Yeah.
And then, okay, so the station, and then what was it, the Mule, or was it Rustic next? I think
so
it was
when we took it, so what happened is we opened the Lazy Duck. When I opened the Lazy Duck, the station was still there. I had nothing to do with it. Obviously, I was a Lazy Duck. And then it did close, so then we took it over, I'm going to say maybe 2 years after we opened the Duck, maybe 3, something around that time. And that's when we named it the Stubborn Mule, starting out with a country concept, and we did that for the first year and a half, and then kind of veered more towards just general live entertainment on the weekends.
Yeah.
And, it kind of veered more with a bit more variety on that side. We did, well, again, like I said, that's how kind of we first met, I think.
Through that era.
You would present almost, I think, every single band we did.
Yeah, I kind of snuck my way in there.
No, you were definitely
I
invited.
I remember just coming in and saying, hey, Jay, I'm going to do this.
No, you didn't have to sneak your way. You were definitely invited every time. You did a great job of it, and it was, again, part of our partnership back there.
Yeah,
so.
for sure. I remember, I mean, I know you've had a lot of huge bands there that you had there, but one that I'll never forget, you said, I said, I love all these bands, but the one that just did the greatest all the time was David Wilcox.
Oh, yeah, Wilcox was always awesome. And just like the easiest to work with, like just came on, was so awesome. Like he was just, some bands were a little more needy, so that's the industry and everyone else was still the same. But he was one of those ones that just came and brought it every time. Like he just put on a full out good show. It was like, it was easy to, like, right from loading, from everything. It was just an easy show, and it was always packed. And he was great to work with. And the Arkells too were also one of my.
Yeah, right.
The Arkells were, I would say, that first show they did for us.
Over the top.
It was just, I've never seen a band put that much energy, and just you knew already then. I remember we were with Zimmer and Rob Jenkins from the radio, and probably yourself. We were all talking. We're like, man, these guys are
totally.
You could see they were projecting to be one of the bigger, which they did after that. And I think we booked them 2 times, and their money kept going up, and then they outgrew us and went on to, more larger festivals and stuff like that. But they were fantastic.
Yeah. Honeymoon Suite's another one I remember.
Honeymoon Suite, Theory of a Dead Man.
Yeah.
Oh, God, so many. Sam Roberts.
The opportunity that you had to connect, like, because you got to go through agencies and all this stuff, and you had to make these connections then to, like, you don't just call up a band and say, hey, will you come play my bar, right?
No, you generally back then, I mean, again, it's been so long, so I'm not sure if that's the same, but back then there was 2 basically agencies you could book from, and they would kind of pitch you a lot of the times. It'd be they're coming through, they're playing in London, this is the routing, are you interested, and like I said, like, are you interested in Matthew Good or whoever's the tie in? So then you would get a better price because they were playing London, so they could come down. That was kind of like, you could chase bands, like every once in a while, like, hey, is this one coming back, or is this one coming through? Be interested in booking them. Okay, we'll get a hold of you if they are coming through. But a lot of times it was them kind of saying, this is what's coming through. This is the price. Do you want it? And I call Zimmer, and I call, the guys from KMO6. Do you think this band will fly? Do you think it'll do well? And there's some you just knew. Right? But then we had some you were shocked. Like even Kim Mitchell, I remember, was one of the ones that kind of wasn't as big as a draw as we thought. And he hadn't been back in a while. And then Nazareth was one of the ones we weren't sure was going to do. And sold out.
They were great.
Yeah, what a good show,
I remember the
too.
first time they were there.
Yeah, another great show.
And they didn't want to stop.
Did not want to stop. They were, again, these guys, you can tell why these guys got to a period of success where they're at. When you see them at that age and still, like when you see them live, you see really like, wow, okay, I get why these guys, you know, they didn't trample into this by luck.
Yeah.
Like they're just so good. So
And hard
April
to-
Wine, another one.
Oh, yeah, that's right,
April
yeah.
Wine, another one. That was always really good too.
Do you have a
Thornley.
room full of
I used to.
posters?
Yeah,
and
we used to
stuff?
we had a whole bunch kept. My wife, from a design point of view, didn't love having them all around. So unfortunately, we have a stack of them still somewhere packed away. But I did have a point where I'm at our other house where I had like an area. We had a whole bunch of them like in
All
frames
signed and
all signed. I think almost everyone signed now. I think, but yeah, they would have been signed at some point. Too,
maybe
so.
that's something in the future to
Yeah,
just put
to
them
bring
on
them back
display.
up. I know I didn't throw them out. She probably wanted me to. I have them somewhere where I have to kind of dig them up, right?
Well,
So-
let's talk about your wife and you know, how did you guys meet?
So actually through the Lazy Duck,
Yeah.
I broke every law by the fact of dating one of my employees, and that happened to be my wife.
Margo,
So
right,
luckily
yeah.
we got married, so nothing came out of that. So no HR issues there. But we got through that.
Did she? Okay, now, and I'm going to ask you this, and you better get it right because
Yeah.
I might ask her when I see her. Did you chase her or did she chase you?
I think it was me. Yeah, I think thinking back, I think it was me. To be honest, I'm trying to think, but most likely, probably me again. Again, 20 years. I think I'm good in HR issues, so I'm fine to say it now.
How long? Sorry, how long have you been married now?
20 years.
20 years. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. And then she was, and obviously still is a big driving force for the Bad Dog. She was the one that we first opened up, and we've really floundered a lot the first couple of years. I was had nightclub experience and all restaurant not a lot. I had no restaurant experience, so I myself, but she had a good culinary background, and we were having a hard time. And she kind of came in and turned the menu around, and it took a lot of years of that first 5 years of really her helping us rebuild the menu and take us out of being a bar to making us a full restaurant we had a plan of to where it was going to go, and every year it kind of got better and better, and we kept improving and growing the menu, and that's again her creative side is what drives all that side.
Yeah, the brand itself, Bad Dog, had to have a lot of thought put into it. I'm sure to the layout of the menu, to not staying open till 2 a.m. Right? Because you were used to that 2 a.m. and then probably not home till 3 or 4.
And I think that was one of our failures in the beginning, is we kind of wanted to be like, again, because I didn't know enough about the business at the time, and we wanted to be a half bar, half restaurant, which doesn't work. And again, I was too young and not the experience to know that, and figured that out going along that was going to work, and then we had to build as a restaurant and keep focusing on the food side and get away from that side. And Margo kept working on the menu and being more creative, and that was kind of her. We kept going through that and building a system, and
systems. Yeah. How did you separate business and marriage?
Not easily.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it was really hard. And anyone else?
Like, who was the boss? Would be the first thing to
at home or at work?
Yes.
Both. Yeah. We fought. All the staff used to laugh when we just had the one location. When we worked together, we fought a lot at work. And when we opened the Starring location, was the best thing, because I would do more Starring, she would do more Corona, and that really maybe saved our marriage. Who knows? It definitely, we fought a lot in Corona when we had to work together, and we did not work well together. We worked well in unison as partners, but on site, we were, that sometimes would not always work.
So how'd you get through that?
I mean, a lot of times it was lighthearted, like I say in a way. Like, I mean, we were obviously always come over right over as soon as we get home and back to whatever else was going on. So it was never, like it was definitely more bickering than everything about the stupid stuff in the business. But, and again, like I said, we had a good partnership that, again, I do the financial side, I do all that side, the payroll, all that stuff. And like I said, Margo, so we kind of knew our spots. So we kind of just would try not to overthrow each other in our spots. And to this day, that's still our formula we do. I don't know some of the stuff she's doing on the side. She doesn't know what I'm doing. And we kind of move forward that way without, together is kind of making, not always unison decisions, because we just know we trust the other person's got that side kind of covered, right?
A lot of times in that business, egos can grow, especially when you start seeing success, whether that's financial success or just the success of something that's growing and becoming more of what you want it to be. Did you ever have to deal with that?
From us?
Yeah, like, I mean, did you have to go, whoa, like, and look at yourself and go, okay, wait a minute.
Honestly, no, because the business changes so much, you know that you have to, like, if you're busy right now, that can change in 6-8 weeks. So I think you always, again, like the nightclub business, you know, it's constantly a grind. Like, you have to keep moving forward and changing. So I don't think we ever got to that because we knew to keep it, like, you couldn't just say, okay, now we're good, we can step back. Yeah. It's going to work itself out now. You always had to, like, again, stay on the details and all the stuff that makes, you know, the success happen. So I honestly don't think that was ever between me and her. We were, and honestly, we were always too busy to really think about that, right? Yeah. And then when Sarnia came into play and we went through that whole thing, it was a lot. So again, it's a lot of no sleeping nights and, you know, a lot of stress and that. And as I say in poker, when we went to open up Sarnia, we were all in. Like, we had put everything, every dollar we had saved, everything went into the Sarnia location, and we had. So it was a lot of stress.
More investment, right? Because I think you and I have talked a little bit about this before, but I think a lot of times people see the success of someone and they kind of see must be nice or wow, they must be doing awesome. They're opening a second location. And it's like, well, we could just be doing awesome with one location and make some good money and whatever, but now we're going to open a second one, so we don't have any money again. Right?
And you sometimes, I mean, that's just, again, you get that from people. I think most, like, you know, we got thanked a lot. We opened Sarnia. Thanks so much. We appreciate you having something like this downtown, and you guys fixed up the building. So 100%. Definitely the majority of downtown people were very appreciative, and we got that a lot. And still to this day, we're like, you know, we appreciate you guys to put something like, you know, a little more family orientated. And that in downtown Ontario. So we always, again, the goodwill was awesome coming into downtown Sarnia. So we really wanted to be part of it, and we knew we had a concept. But you know, it was stressful. It was a lot. You know, even though in your head you know it's going to work, it doesn't necessarily always mean it's going to work. Like so you could, you know, think in your head that this is 100%er, but nothing's 100%er, right? Yeah. So you know that there's still.
You're busy. I mean, I go by sometimes and I don't stop in because I go, oh, wow, I don't think I'm going to get a table. Like, you know, like, which is a good problem for you to have.
Yeah. Generally the weekends, because I mean, again, and there's so much going on in the Imperial Theatre, which is such a great asset to downtown.
Absolutely.
That can't be said enough. I think everyone downtown appreciates what it's. I mean, the shows they're doing now is phenomenal. It brings so many people downtown, which helps us and the other restaurants. Every show night, every restaurant downtown is busy. So, which is, man, we owe that to Imperial. And again, whenever like they ask for sponsorship, we always gladly help because they just do so much for the downtown. I mean, sorry in general, but definitely directly to downtown. Like every year they get more and more shows. It's crazy how many shows they do there. And sold out shows and rock shows and plays, and they bring in some really cool stuff. I know there's
like the Hell's Bells that's coming up, or was, and it was sold out.
Yeah, last weekend there was two. There was the Hip one on Friday and the ACDC on Saturday. Both sold out. So we did great from that. Again, I know all the other restaurant owners don't say the same. They're just busy for each show. So it helps downtown a ton, right? So they're a great asset to downtown for sure.
Yeah. The relationships. I always talk about that. You know, that's something that, especially in this type of business, restaurant or bar, entertainment, whatever you call it, you've been able to establish a lot of relationships and then sustain those relationships over time, right? How is that? What has that meant to you to be able to look back and 30 years ago and still be talking to those people?
I don't know. I think it's like part of the success. Like, you kind of develop these little people that help you out in this stuff, and you kind of go keep them in the loop to what's going on. They're part, progress to what's going on. And I think that's, again, like, you know, whether it's a contractor or whatever it is, you like to have those people that, you know, they do this for you and they help you out when you're there. So you kind of, it's part of the whole successful part of that. I mean, not just that industry, of course, any other industry too. I think, you know, keeping that, not just jumping around. The best price isn't the best thing. And, you know, and development with our regulars and our patrons that come in all the time, you know, and our idea, and we started this many years ago when we started in Corunna, and our thing always was, you know, to this day, we say no to advertising all the time. We don't do advertising. It's just a thing we don't do. And I always say to people, I'm like, this isn't you. This isn't what you're selling. The Bad Dog system has always been, we spend that money in the community. So we put that, like, even when we just had Corunna, it's okay, we do The Optimist, we do, you know, at Christmas time, we do Fireman's Field Day, you know, Captain Kids, minor hockey. I'd rather put that money that I would spend on an ad or something else into like things directly like that. So it's kind of always been our business model that way, and how we've gone forward. And I think, again, we do free hot chocolate out front, both locations at the parades and just stuff like that. I think I'd rather spend my money that way.
Yeah. You read my mind, actually, Jason. I was leading into something else where I was going to say you believe in the give back side of things. And you mentioned a bunch of Captain Kid Days. And another one that's really close to you is the Alzheimer's Society, right? Yep. And that was because of your father.
My father, yeah. So my father passed away from Alzheimer's or dementia, I think Alzheimer's. But so that's definitely, the Alzheimer's is one of we try to spread our stuff around, but definitely Alzheimer's is one of the ones that I do the most with, and for obvious reasons. My wife is partially Humane Society and does a lot with them, and that's always been one of her ones too. So that and then Noel's Gift. So obviously Noel's Gift is.
And that's that relationship building too. Yeah. Like, I think that people appreciate that, and then they probably say, let's go to Bad Dog for lunch, because they see that. And that's been not to say that it wasn't the connection with like the station and the mule or whatever. There's a lot of that, but the Bad Dog is a completely different animal, so to speak, than everything else.
Well done.
Right? And it seems a lot more close knit. Like, like I love your staff. Yeah. I got to tell you, all of them. Yeah. And like, it doesn't matter whether I go to Sarnia or Corunna, and a lot of them knew me from previous life, but it's such you're out of Black Sambuca at Sarnia, by the way. But they all have this philosophy of serving. Like, when I sit down, what do you want? And then when they walk away, there's always somebody else who walks by and goes, checking that. Have you had a drink yet? Or have you someone taken your order?
They buy into the system. So you have to, we have a great staff, and that's, again, such a huge key to the success of, again, like any business, not just the restaurant industry, but, but they have to buy into the system, right? Like, you have to go the over and beyond. You have to have the details, and they all, they all buy into it, and that's what it is. They know that, the other work as a team there, whether it's our managers or staff, to help the other person inside, and, it's, like everything else, we're not flawless. Like any other person. You teach
that? Like, is that 100%. When you train somebody?
Teach it and preach it. So, literally, like our managers, like when they're on their shift and we come in, we're always reinforcing, and this is the over and beyond,
and lead by example, because you're out on the floor when
I do everything
as needed, right?
Same with Margo. We've done always, like I said again. One thing we learned, and I learned by my failures, because definitely was one of my failures when I first started there. My wife right away said, like, you need to learn like the kitchen, and you have to, as a successful operator, know every aspect of the business. And I did when I was in the nightclubs. I could DJ, I could bar. You have to same thing.
In case somebody calls in sick or something.
And the same thing translates when we got here. She's like, you have to understand your kitchen to do well with it. You have to be able to run your floor. And I still enjoy it. I still love being on the floor. I still love bullshitting with people at the front door. and I love it. So, and you have to really enjoy that side. That again, like you said, that connection. And we have so many people that come in like that. I know them right away when I see their name. Oh, that's the same group before. They're going to want this booth. They also like the window booth. And you start to develop, like you said again, those connections of those people, right?
Yeah. So in the midst of all of this, you're married, building a business and an incredible brand, and then you have children. In the middle of, you have 3 children.
3,
right?
Yep.
And how old's your youngest right now?
14.
Yeah. So to the 70 plus hours a week.
Yep.
A marriage, and then the children. Like, how do you balance that?
That was probably, I would say, the part when we realized, like after we opened Sarnia, and we missed out a lot of stuff with our kids. At 4 months, we were renovating Sarnia. And I think that was kind of when we stepped back and said, I think the 2 locations is enough. Like everyone kept saying, like, oh, this would be, you guys should put a Bad Dog in Petrolia and Grand Bend, and we also have people. We'd love it if you guys. When I said, what, love to do it. It gets to a point where just, you give away a bit too much of your family life. And, we gave away a lot, like over the years, and missed Christmases back in the nightclub days, missed, during renovations, stuff like that over the, battle of working. We missed a lot of events with our kids. So we kind of at that point said, this is kind of where we're stopping it. We're happy it is. We're, we built our brand to what it is, but I don't think at this point, like, we're going on to anything more. And that's why we kind of stopped that. Because at some point you do have to weigh it and enjoy your family too, right?
Right. Have they learned your work ethic, you and Margo's work ethic?
Well, our oldest works there. Actually, and our middle, both of them work there too. And even our youngest, Reese, has done a couple dishwashing shifts. So we try to teach them that this is, like, again, nothing, we didn't just get this wasn't given, this was years of hard work. You know, we try to value all those stuffs, again, that we got in, that nothing's just for free. And, you know, you have to work for it. So, you know, we've been part of that stuff like that. The kids say, you know, well, you want a new computer? Well, you can work 5 or 6 shifts and get that computer, you know, or that whatever, that tablet, whatever you need. And we've, you know, we make our kids pay for their own cell phone, you know, no matter what. You know, it's not a matter of the fact of where you can afford to pay them. It's the fact of knowing, like, okay, to get that cell phone, I have to work 3 or 4 hours. And that sucks. So, you know, it's, you know, that's the trade-off. So do you want that? Yes. Okay. Well, so then you just, again, realizing that that's what, you know, when you ask us for a $150 code or whatever you want, something, like, it doesn't just come out of anything, you know, again.
In fact, you work on commission.
Yeah.
Really?
That's
like,
right.
you know, if there's nobody in that space,
there's nothing
you're not getting anything, and you still have to pay the people that are there.
I've never heard it put that way, Dave. That's a great, we definitely do work on
man,
commission.
Yeah.
So
any thoughts of future generations taking on the bad dog?
I don't know if any of our kids would. I mean, there would definitely be something we've entertained. Like I said, our oldest daughter Lakin's there a lot, and maybe someday that'd be something for her. So definitely something we've discussed, and again, I don't know if we're at that point yet, but that's definitely something that's been passed
just a
around,
conversation like any mom or dad. What's your future look like?
I would honestly, it's a hard business.
Did you talk them out of it?
I have tried adamantly, because it is a tough business. I tell it to them. I've said, you know, there's a zillion other ways to make money in this world that aren't as stressful as being just even an entrepreneur in general. Anyone that's owns a business on their own, has had to work for it, knows what you give up. So I said, you know, there's a million great jobs out there right now in the trades or the stuff where honestly you can still make great money and, you know, have a little more of your private life too.
Would you agree with the statement that, like you've heard it said that, oh, they were born to be entrepreneurs? I prefer to believe that entrepreneurship is a skill that can be learned.
Yeah, I'd agree with that, because I think entrepreneurship comes with a bit of a work ethic too.
Yep.
So that kind of mixes
a different work ethic.
A work ethic, which would translate to other industries. And, you know, I think if you had that same work ethic that makes you a good entrepreneur, you would be the same work ethic that would make you maybe rise up as an electrician to be the foreman, and then to, you know, to maybe go through, maybe that's that same, you know, where some people are like, hey, I just want to work my 40 hours. I want to go with my family. I don't want the extra. And
I don't want the extra
100% get that, because many times we've juggled that and thought about that too. So I think you can definitely, anyone can become a good entrepreneur and can learn that skill. And again, but I mean, the backbone of it at 100% is unequivocally of all the stuff we've done, you know, whether successes from the nightclubs, it literally is hard work. There's no, I would put intelligence, like, here, quite frankly, like to say to myself, you know, like.
You're not a smart guy, Jay?
Don't have to be the smartest, you just have to outwork everyone else. And that was at the end of the day, I always
show up early,
leave
late.
Yep, just work harder than the other guy. And it sounds cliche, but it's said by a million entrepreneurs because it's true. Like, you just have to outwork the other guy, and sometimes and you give up things, right? And you give up stuff to kind of get to build it to where you want. And again, we opened Lazy Duck. That was my whole mind. It wasn't ever about, you know, how much money am I going to make? It was just about building a really cool, successful. I never thought about the other apps. I was like, okay, I'll work 70 hours out if I can I just want this to be the coolest party bars. That's all I thought in my head. Like, that's at that age. I was just like, you know, I was 28. I'm like, didn't even think about that. My stuff was just like, maybe that stuff comes after. It's cool, you know, great. Like, you know, when we started having financial at the Lazy Duck, this is pretty fun. But I never thought about that. Where I think some days some people get in it now and think that's the reason they're getting into it.
How much can I make?
If I go into this, you know, I'm going to end up being, you know, driving Corvettes, all this stuff, where I think if you have a real sincere passion for what you do to go with it, it's more definitely the work ethic. And then at some point, naturally, maybe some of that stuff comes with it. And then sometimes it doesn't either, right?
Yeah.
So
you're a football fan.
Yeah, Lions fan.
Lions fan. Yeah.
Awesome year. Amazing year. Super proud of the team. We honestly, that last game was, like everyone else, a bit disappointing, and it was hard to watch. And we all thought in halftime they were going to the Super Bowl. But I got to say, amazing year, and they have a full team. Coaching, everything's back in place for next year. I have absolutely no doubt that next year they're a contender. They got Green Bay is another team that's going to be up and coming in that division, but they will definitely. I would be shocked if they're not in the playoffs, and I'm going to be shocked if they don't make it.
And have you always been a Lions fan?
I had season tickets for 10 years. I had season tickets in the years when they were zero. One no game. We were leaving.
Like, why are we going to a Lions game?
Why are we going? I couldn't give away. I called people up. I couldn't make a Lions game. Hey, I got 2 tickets. Yeah, I know my mom's got Potter Classic. I couldn't give away the tickets. So we're now. Now there. I think the tickets start at $3. You couldn't even get season tickets. There's a waiting list, and so great for the Lions. 10 years I've suffered through watching the worst football ever, leaving in third quarter when they were already down 3-4 scores, and it was awful football.
Well, what a great vibe, though. Around. I have a Lions jersey, and I put it on one night and watched football. I don't know how to spell football. Everybody knows me knows that.
It's hard not to get into it.
But I won a jersey somewhere, and it was a Lions jersey. I thought, well, I got to wear this, right?
Yeah.
But there was really a vibe or a community built around supporting the Lions
across North America. It's like even they were saying at the end, like all the people that just overall wanted to see the Lions succeed. I think they were just that story that everyone was hoping was going to come through after years of just getting the crap kicked out of them, right, and being one of the worst teams in the league. Unfortunately, again, I've been a fan forever, but they've been horrible for many decades, and and it's so I think it was definitely very enlightening for us fans to see the year they had it. Again, they got to NFC. So I think next year will be again. I think this is a start of the Lions being another one of those teams that is always there now for the next 3 or 4 years. Okay. They're going to be in that playoff contention. They're going to be a team to talk about. I think for the next.
What about hockey?
I don't watch as much hockey.
No.
I'll follow the Leafs a bit. Like I've got to be honest, like I said, for years.
It's just football is your...
Football's my thing. Yeah. Like I said, I'll follow the Leafs, and I like the little run they're on right now, and they're having a good little run right now too. But again, I don't avidly watch as much as football. But it's nice to see them. They're playing great a little bit and making a run for the playoffs too. So But they're a team. The Leafs are very much like the Lions, right? I think a lot of Lions fans.
Well, I call them zealots. The fans are zealots.
Yeah, very similar.
Screw up all the time, but still sell tickets, and people still show up and support them. Right?
Even through all the years of the Leafs, they're still selling at $500 to $800 a ticket. So.
I don't think they need. I definitely don't want to be in Toronto when they ever do win the Stanley Cup.
It'd be nuts.
I think the CN Tower's coming down that day.
And can you imagine with tickets for that and everything again? It'd be like Detroit, the same thing, where I think the whole downtown Toronto would just be insane. Yeah, it'd be crazy. Yeah.
Sports is a big. It's not. It's a piece of Bad Dog, right?
Yeah, for sure.
But are you a sports bar?
I always like to say, to me, again, it goes to that whole, we were just talking about the whole culture of what we do. And I always am very big on making sure we have 3 different TVs on that are on, that are always on the different games. So we have at 7 o'clock, that Leafs game's on, our Habs game's on. I don't think it goes to being a restaurant, and that's what people come to bat for, but they enjoy it while they're there.
Yeah.
So we always want to make sure it's there. So for whoever's there and they're with their family, that they can still watch the game they want to watch when they're for dinner. And not to say we don't get people in just to watch, Michigan games and stuff like that. You do, and of course when the Lions are making the run, people are pretty excited. Masters, people come out for and anytime I think. Whether it's the Jays or the Raptors make a playoff run, there's some excitement.
Yeah.
But it definitely. It plays into the part of we always want to make sure it's available. It's a big part that we think that's part of the whole
part of the draw
piece. But I don't find it as a draw. I like to saying that I don't think people would associate a sports bar that we're just going distinctly. Maybe
we're going to Bad Dog and the sports will be on.
Yeah, so I think it's the nice
sports.
Benefit, right? Yeah. They're there for the other reasons they're there for, and they know on Sunday the football games are all going to be on. We have volume for them. I think that's the added value of it to me. But
I think I've noticed. Are you a cigar connoisseur? Are you a cigar fan, I guess?
I definitely was for many, 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 many years. Yeah. I smoked cigars avidly, 1 or 2 a week, buy nice cigars when I was in Cuba and traveling, and I had a humidor and all that. I did get sick about 2-3 years ago, and my throat had some issues. Nothing major, but anyways, it was bothering me. So I stopped for about 6 months, and then I just never started back up. So I was an avid cigar smoker. I love cigars, even back again. Going back to the nightclub days, I do my cash in the night, bring a cigar in, I make my cash, and golfing. Loved a cigar. Any trips my kids will remember we're on, I always had a cigar
Yeah.
when we went somewhere else. But yeah, so the last couple of years I've weaned off them.
Yeah. You like to travel too.
Love to travel.
Yeah.
We just, again, now within the last couple of years now that, again, we've had such a great management staff and a little more able to travel a bit and try to reclaim some time with our kids. So yeah, we can go to Mexico a bit.
Yeah. A bit.
Yeah, well.
As often as you can.
As often as we can. I would go more if Margo would let me, but she doesn't let as much as me. She'd rather stay home.
I think we threatened our wives once and said, well, you and I will just
we'll be
go, and
moving?
if you guys want to show up
Yeah,
later.
if you guys show up, the plane ticket's ready if you want to
I don't know
go.
if we'd still be married if we did that or not, but it's been great to watch, and you don't always know you're being watched. I know personally I've watched from afar, and I mean, we've established a relationship a long time ago and kept that. But I'm always watching and I go looking around when I'm in Bad Dog and I see the staff and I go, you can see a piece of you and you can see a piece of Margo, and it's like, well, she did that, he did that,
100%.
and you have to be proud of what you've done.
Oh my God! Like again, I enjoyed my career and the stuff we've done, and and the success leads back. But I would say, like, definitely building the brand and bringing the Bad Dog to where when we open the second location and seeing it at both locations. It's definitely fulfilling in the way that and we still love it and still like that side of it, and it is definitely. It's and you again, like you said before, going back to like sometimes but you don't get caught because it's just going so fast too, and you're always constantly changing, so you don't have time sometimes to really suck it up and absorb also either, right? You're busy on the weekends, but at the same time we're running around doing this, and all of a sudden it's just over and the night's over, and you're like, well, yeah, that was a great night. It was people had a good time, and they're going to the show, and then we had the after crowd, and we had a little acoustic, but it just passes it quick, and you're just kind of always maintaining, it seems too, right? Yeah. So you always don't have enough time to kind of absorb, and you're just so busy. And then, all right, now it's on, this is done, we're on to the St. Patrick's menu. Let's work on that. And then you're churning that out. And then once that's gone, then we're starting the summer menu. How do we do summer? So you're always kind of working on something. You don't really have
it's like
that.
Event to event.
Yeah, you don't have that time to kind of absorb that and kind of get, into that, because you're just worrying about getting that next stuff and keeping up to the brand and making sure that I think people have an expectation of that Margo and our staff put some really cool cocktails and so that's one of our things. So we're always working on that, and then some neat little menus between that.
Just never ends, right?
Yeah, it doesn't end. So you don't really kind of have the time to kind of absorb that all the time.
So back to the crossroads, it was 663, or it was the nightclubs.
Yeah.
You're really glad you took the path that you did?
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. Like, we're definitely, not to think that, honestly, like, there has been many times over my years, I'm like, man, maybe I should have went that way, and I would have had more time with my kids. And so I got to say, there's a lot of times in my life I've second thought it. Like, honestly, there's a lot of times I was like, man, you know what, this is just such a hard business, and we're, up to 3 a.m, and then this gets wrong. If you work in the trade, you go home, you get to go home, and you get to, and I'm like, you know what, maybe that would have. So, yeah, of course, I mean, because we love what we've done now, we love what we've built, and we're happy we've done this way, so it's hard to look back. But in the same way, there's sometimes I do look back and like, maybe that would have been a better route. I don't know.
It might have been easier.
Yeah.
More time.
Or, not, again, it's a tough grind there too. I mean, like everything else, right? I mean, working outside is a hard thing, and my dad did it for 40 years, so I saw him go through many shutdowns, and he said that's exactly what he said to me. It's a tough, whatever you do, it's not easy, so.
Yeah. You got any bucket lists that you haven't done yet, Jay?
As far as traveling, no, I mean, we've kind of done a lot of this stuff, and I'm not really, honestly, a huge bucket list guy. Only thing ever is I said I want a Corvette, and someday I'll have a Corvette. Right. So I think when my kids are off and gone out of school and they've stopped kind of...
you don't need to jump out of an airplane.
That's not my gig. I'm not until that kind of rush. I'm not a rush junkie or anything like that. So I guess I love traveling, but I've never... I like to take my family see and show them things. So as far as like mine's like when I take my family, we have relatives from Germany. I want to show them that. So that's another thing to do. But yeah, I've never been a huge bucket list where I need to get, like you said again, like that one certain thing. And I gotta say we love to travel. I like just take my families on experiences and show them.
But you love Sarnia too. Like again, back to the community side, the Sarnia Corunna. all the area around, and like we've got beautiful water here. We got Border Fest and Revelry. And all
again,
this.
we're involved in all those shows, and there's so many cool stuff like that. And we say, and we talk with this, and we were just talking with this other night. We're like, we kind of stopped years ago, kind of doing cottages in the summer. We're like, we're going up to Tobermory, but I mean, Sarnia in the summer is so awesome. So we kind of now we try and travel in the winter because January, February here isn't as awesome.
I'm with you.
Yeah. So, to get that side of it. So now we stay here the summer, and, plus that's usually our busy season too, right, for work. So, and like, it's just, the water here is awesome. And it's just so, that's the pinnacle of Sarnia. You kind of take it for granted until you live somewhere else. And,
right.
You go to Toronto, you go to London, you see not having that beach and just having it. I think when you know it's here, you take it for granted. Like, again, like myself or yourself, growing up here, you're just raised on it, right?
Yeah.
I lived
10 minutes from anywhere.
Yeah. I mean, so that's unbelievable. Like, you're, Querétaro, all these places are, like you said, in your little range, you could just go at any time is pretty awesome. And then having the river, like having both, like it's pretty cool. So, so I think, like, again, we've done more of saying, let's stay around the town in the summertime because, again, like now there's, so many festivals like you were just talking about, and good shows and stuff to the water and boating and everything. It's great. If
I were to interview Margo, would it be a similar interview?
Yeah, I think in most ways.
Put me on the spot, bro.
I was kind of scared to answer this one, but in most ways. I mean, we're pretty much on the same level playing. I mean, we laugh a lot and we joke a lot about it because everyone comes up to me all the time, and when I'm coming through it, I think I'm more a face of the bad dog than what she is, which she's, I think, fine with a lot of times. So a lot of times people come up to you like, we love what you did with the menu, and I'm like, well, I didn't do anything. Margo did it. So I always say to her, I'm like, oh, thank you so much. I'll try to whatever, and she just shakes her head, and so I think she knows now. She's like, I give up on you. You go ahead, take the credit for all the stuff, whatever. So I mean, I think that in that way we laugh a lot about it too, because you just know. I think from being there from the beginning, I get more of the credit in the face of it. That definitely
you're the front man of the band.
And in any way, she definitely deserves way more, like I said, because I couldn't put a menu together. My life depended on it, and I couldn't, all the little touches you see there from the decorations out front at Christmas time, the Sarnia location, to the flowering, to the wording on the stuff, to the little pieces that make us the details we are, like that is all Margo, not me. So I, like I said, get the easy part of just kind of doing the hiring and the payroll and the number side, and she does the creative side, but I get kind of credit for both. So
good job. I wanted to give you the opportunity to give her credit.
So hopefully that clarifies anything. So don't get in too much trouble. But
I'll have a good chuckle with her when I see her.
Yeah, she takes it pretty good though. She understands and gets it, doesn't worry about it too much. Maybe she even likes it. I don't know.
Right. Jay, this has been a lot of fun.
Yeah, great catching up. I could tell a million more stories. Could you, right? So.
We could probably do that again. Maybe you'll get down here and shoot a game of pool with you.
Yeah, we could, like I said again, we could do a whole podcast just talking old industry days and. Yeah, we might
have to wait for some people to die before we talk about them. I don't know. Would that be that book?
To bring up some of those stories, there's some other stories like that we'd have to be careful with for sure. I don't know how far back again, like I said, you can go those things. So.
And maybe I should interview Zimmer. He could probably.
Zim's he knows where a lot of the bodies are buried too. Right. Zimmer's been around for a lot of those shows, and it was a big part of our success.
Oh, he was amazing. Yeah. He was amazing. Thanks again.
Yeah, awesome, Dave. Appreciate it.
Thanks to all of you for watching. And you say what I say every time. Make sure you click the like, the love, and share so we can share Jason's story and everybody else here on the show. But for now, that's all the time I got for you this week. Have a great week and an even better weekend. We'll see you next time right here on the show. Bye for now.